This particular project is to build 22 kilometres of concrete safety barrier between junction 16 of the M1 motorway, which is the Northampton turnoff, and junction 19, which is the Catthorpe interchange with the M6 and the A14. We have 40 to 50 subcontractors and directly employed operatives at the moment, and that will increase probably as we go into the slip forming phase to up to 90 or even 100 operatives out on the ground.
At the moment, in the motorway, we've got a planing operation going on, taking out the central reserve between the two lane 3 rib lines. 2 large planers going on, and they're bringing the material on 8-wheel wagons into site, tipping it here.
This particular project is also in advance of a future all-lane running scheme. So by putting the concrete barrier in, the width of the central reserve is being reduced, and therefore you can squeeze in the 4th lane without increasing the width of the motorway either side.
Safety of operatives working out here is paramount. That's why we have vehicle restraint system in place, which is our zone guard barrier. We have a safety no-go zone, which is 650 millimetres from the toe of the barrier, where obviously we say no people, no equipment, nothing is to be put in that 650 mil zone. We also have on all our plant equipment the good old thumbs up from the driver. Make sure you get the thumbs up before you approach or pass the machine.
Eventually the barrier will be continuous along the M1. We're already looking at working from 16 down to 15 from the Highways Agency as a bolt onto this contract. So we're here to deliver the right product, and obviously we can see there's future opportunity, shall we say, for the joint venture going forward.
The existing station, really for Tottenham Court Road, is at the end of its shelf life. We've been here well over 100 years. The station's tatty, it's suffering from severe capacity issues. We've got to improve the interchange between the Northern Line and Central Lines, and we've got to make sure that we're on track to connect with Crossrail when it arrives in 2018.
Our designers are responsible for providing us with a design that works, and we are then responsible for ensuring that the design is accepted, is buildable and works together with the rest of the station once it's in operation.
Since the tunnelling has stopped, the fit out has been carried out, the escalators have been installed over the last year, they're approaching final completion.
So all of the electrical systems have been installed into the existing platforms, where we've got a lot of challenges to make sure that we can run the existing station onto the new systems.
We're always installing, ripping out, reinstalling, maintaining all the time. It's a massive site, a vast area, so it's really responsive and being called out to areas where they might have lost power and things like that,
We work on a barrier basis, so when the deliveries come off the road, we have to draw the barriers. So sometimes you can get some pedestrians rushing past the barriers, so we've got a lot to deal with.
With the collaboration, it's been really embedded in the one team principle. Everything now is a collaboration that's involved in the original buildability, it's all the way through to agreed in method statements and also the programme.
Well, having finished the phase 1 of operation, that's allowed us to open most of the new station and set the passengers going through our new work. So we've got a station that's working.
The emphasis on opening on time and delivery, it's an ethos that goes throughout the whole team, and it's something which I've seen in other projects, but not to the same degree as this, because it is such a huge, important event for London Underground, and I think for the various contractors that are working here as well. So I think everyone is driven to make sure we succeed.
We are doing the refurbishment of the main and cargo tunnels. They were built in the late 50s and early 60s. They've reached the end of their life really from a serviceability point of view. A lot of systems in there that need upgrading to current standards. We are stripping it back to the bare structure, doing some structural repairs and replacing all the life critical systems. We co-locate with our client, so they are with us all the time. They have a representative out on site every night, so it is a very collaborative team ethos here.
When it was used to landing 747s on the runway, it's now looking at the Airbus A380s, which are a whole different animal for Heathrow. The tunnel isn't capable of holding an A380 at the moment, so we're looking at improving the structure of the roof of the tunnel, tunnel's cracked in places, it's losing concrete on the walls, and we're going around repairing these bits and pieces. So they're all the structural works that we're doing. The traffic through that tunnel in the day is immense. If we put a closure on too early, it will block the M25 for 8 miles. There are hundreds of cars that go through there every hour.
Behind me is the main tunnel and cargo tunnel mock-ups. It's an 11-metre section of the cargo tunnel which is used for when the operatives are out on site. It's to help them practice for when they have the closures because of the reduced working hours.
There's a lot of issues with the winter, dealing with cold weather and the climate and stuff like that, and the light as well. There's a lot of plant movement, height restriction, width restriction.
Before we started any work, we had to develop and practice and drill emergency plans, people-type emergency plans and plant emergency plans, and the removal thereof in the event of an emergency. Any injuries, how we get those out, how we deal with the emergency services. We have a very long, narrow tunnel, very difficult to get kit past other kit that is working. So everything is lined up in the order it needs to work. It is agreed before we go in, and the kit goes to where it's supposed to work and stops, does its operation, and then comes out in the reverse order.
Thumbs up. You gain eye contact with the driver when you come up to the barriers. Basically, you don't go through the barrier until you get that.
This is all going to be panelled out, the electrics is going to be upgraded. It's going to look fantastic.